If you're shopping for a high-end ergonomic chair, then it only makes sense that you're comparing the Herman Miller Aeron with the Herman Miller Embody. These are two of the most recognizable chairs in the world from the most reputable chair manufacturer. How do they compare? We've had each of these chairs for over 3 years, and I have personally used both of these chairs for hours and hours on end, and I'm just gonna run through them quick, give you an idea of which chair would be best for you. Starting out with the price, there is going to be a bit of a price difference between the two chairs, with the Embody being about $200 more than the Aeron when you get the Aeron fully loaded. You don't have as many options to spec out the Embody. It basically just always comes fully loaded at about $1,845. The Aeron fully loaded with all those options is about $1,645. If you want to save some money, you can take some adjustments off or spec it down, but I would recommend getting it fully loaded just because you're getting the most out of the chair by doing that. When we look at the build quality of both chairs, I do not necessarily think that you're gaining anything build quality wise by going with the Embody. I believe that it's probably priced more than the Aeron because of the technology in the seat and back with all of the nodes and the flexible points. It's probably pretty expensive for them to make this, and the R&D was probably pretty ridiculous, and so that's probably why it's more expensive than the Aeron. But I do feel that the Aeron is still one of the most well-built chairs that we've ever had through our doors, and these things hold up forever. They're in the field for decades, so you're not missing out in terms of build quality by going with one or the other. Both of them are going to be phenomenal chairs, and both of them have held up extremely well, being used extensively in our office over the last 3 years. When looking at the size and the fit of both chairs, they're going to be quite a bit different just because they have kind of two different schools of thought. The Aeron has 3 different sizes that you choose from, the A, B, and the C. With the A being the smallest size, the B being the size that's going to cover the majority of the population, then C being for bigger or taller individuals. Now the problem is that the chair isn't necessarily designed to be adjustable enough to fit all of the people in the range, and so you kind of need to fit the size of the chair that you pick. So for me, the Aeron fits me well, being about 5'8", 5'9", 180 pounds, but if I was taller, I'd want to move into the size C. Shorter, I'd want to move into the size A. So you just really kind of need to pick the exact chair that's going to fit you, whereas the Embody has a little bit better adjustability in things like the arm width, the seat being non-constrictive, and then the seat depth adjustment really allows you to kind of cater the chair more towards the individual than the individual having to fit the chair. The adjustment packages on both chairs are actually going to be quite a bit different, so I'll just kind of run through them and let you know what you get with each chair. Starting with the seat. So both chairs are going to have seat height adjustment. I'll show you the adjustment on the Embody because it's pretty cool with this toggle lever they have here. But both chairs are going to give you that good range from about 16 to 21 inches, covering the majority of the population. The one advantage that the Embody is going to have when it comes to seat adjustment is going to be that it does have seat depth adjustment. With these handles here, you can extend the seat out or retract it back depending on how tall or short you are, which really allows you to get the seat in the proper placement behind your legs. And that's going to be a big win for the Embody over the Aeron because the Aeron doesn't have that. And that's one of the reasons why the Embody can cater to more people, like we just talked about in the previous section. The arm adjustments on these chairs are going to be quite a bit different, with the Embody having 2-way adjustment. So you're going to get height adjustment, really big range, go really low and really high, and then you're going to get width adjustment, where the whole arm moves in and out. Now, this width adjustment here is probably the #1 complaint on the Embody, and this is why these armrests are consistently described as being clunky. It's because this adjustment right here does feel clunky. It's hard to dial it in. You can often go past the spot that you want it to, but I have found that once I got it in the position that I wanted, it does hold its position well there, and it is comfortable. So that's not a huge complaint from me in terms of them being difficult to use. The Aeron arms are certainly going to be easier to use and more adjustable, and they can definitely accommodate more typing and working positions. Nice height range, but the arm cap adjustments are going to just make the difference, especially the depth adjustment and then the pivot and width adjustment. So not only are they more adjustable, but they are easier to adjust, which is something that is probably a pretty big advantage by going with the Aeron over the Embody. When looking at the recline on both of these chairs, there are going to be a couple of differences. They are similar in the fact that they both have that amazing Herman Miller harmonic tilt mechanism where you're just sinking back super smoothly in the chair. This is probably my favorite motion on any office chair, and both of them are going to have this motion. One thing that the Aeron has that the Embody doesn't is going to be forward seat tilt. And so if you like to work in a super forward, high intensive tasking application, then the Aeron is probably going to have to be your choice because the Embody doesn't have this function. But the Embody does have an extra locking position as compared to the Aeron. So that's going to be one advantage that you do gain. But you can see that when I sit in the chair, it still has that nice, smooth, deep recline. But then you are able to lock it into 4 positions instead of 3. So fully upright, and then you're going to have 2 intermediate positions, and then all the way unlocked for the full range of motion. Both chairs are going to have tilt tension, giving you the ability to control how difficult or easy it is to recline in the chair. Both of them are super responsive. You're not gaining anything there by going with either chair. Really, there's no advantage in terms of reclining with either chair. One gives you an extra backstop and one gives you forward seat tilt, so that might be the determining factor for you. And the final thing we're going to look at for the adjustments is going to be the backrest adjustment, starting with the lumbar. Unfortunately, the Embody does not have any lumbar adjustment options. You get a built-in lumbar support. It does have a really nice natural S shape to support your spine, but I will say that it is going to be a little bit more of a pronounced lumbar support. And for those of you that like a little bit less support or not such of an aggressive curve, this might not be a good choice for you. It's probably the #1 reason why people say that they dislike the lumbar section on this chair. It can be a little bit pronounced and you have no way to really back it off other than the back angle adjustment. It does have a unique adjustment. They call it independent back angle, and you use this knob here. You can see when I turn it, it just is moving the backrest forward or backwards before I start my recline. You can kind of use this to snug in the lumbar or back it off a little bit, but that's not really the main design of the function, more so to just kind of set up your recline. But it's something to think about. If you don't like really pronounced lumbar, then this might not be a great choice for you. The Aeron has much better lumbar choices. You can go with a no lumbar package, or you can go with their standard height adjustable lumbar, which will just be a horizontal pad with height adjustment, or you can go with the Posture Fit SL like we have here. This will give you a huge vertical range of support, and then you can use this knob here to kind of dial in how much or how little support it is providing. So overall, the lumbar support on the Aeron, in my opinion, is going to be a little bit better, much more customizable, much more options, and I found it to be more comfortable overall in the long-term use that I've used both of the chairs. So which chair is more comfortable? We'll just go through the different aspects of comfort in office chairs, starting with the seat on the Embody. And in my opinion, this is going to be a clear win for the Embody. I think the seat on the Embody is much more comfortable than the Aeron, just because it's a lot more forgiving. You have a much wider seat to use. It's very flexible. It doesn't kind of inhibit the way that you can use the chair. You can use it in multiple positions. And the node system, the pixelated support that they've incorporated in the chair, I think is a very unique design. And I believe that this is creating that kind of suspended floating feel that the Aeron wishes that it was creating. Because in my opinion, the mesh is okay. It's soft, it's very high quality mesh, but it doesn't provide that suspended floating feeling that you would expect out of a mesh chair. Instead, it's just a firm sit. It's really firm, and because the mesh has kind of a natural flexion point, you can really feel where that is, and oftentimes that's on the tailbone. And so for me, the Aeron can be pretty uncomfortable after extended use, either on my thigh area because of the pronounced seat frame or because of the hard mesh. And the seat frame is probably going to be one of the biggest complaints with the Aeron, if I'm being honest, because the bucket seat design, because it's so rigid and so hard, you really can't move around in the chair. You basically have to sit in the chair perfectly and use it how they intended, and you're not going to be able to move around and get a lot of movement out of the seat as compared to the Embody, which was designed to be very flexible. So you can see that when I move my legs around, it kind of flexes with me and moves with me, and so I'm not inhibited by the chair, and I can just use it however I want. So I really like the seat on the Embody as compared to the Aeron. Moving on to the arms, when just looking at pure comfort, comparing the pads, I do think that the Embody does have a nice pad. It's large, you're not getting any hard edges, the foam is soft, and you can kind of dig your elbow or your wrist or your hand into the foam. I will say though that the Aeron's arm pads are going to be softer. They are going to have less of an edge than the Embody, and because they are more adjustable with the caps themselves, I do find that I can put them in a few positions that I prefer over the Embody, typically moving them back like this to be out of the way of a desk or a keyboard tray. And so just the overall comfort of the arms due to the adjustability and because these pads are so soft really makes me lean towards these pads over the Embody. Looking at the back comfort, I do prefer the lumbar options on the Aeron for lower back support. but I prefer everything else on the Embody. And that is because the Aeron's frame is super rigid, just like the seat, so you're not going to get any of that movement, stretching, being able to kind of use the chair how you want to, move around, stretch throughout the day, work in different positions. You can't really do that on the Aeron because you're going to be feeling the frame. The frame's not going to bend with you. And to be honest, it just kind of creates an uncomfortable experience anytime that you need to move outside of the chair constraints. Whereas the Embody was basically designed to be used in an opposite way of the Aeron. Instead of sitting in the chair as it's intended to use all the time, the Embody really allows you to move and use the chair however you want. So if you want to stretch, relax, move around, lean, the Embody is going to support you, but allow you to move however you want to. And this is because of the pixelated system and because of the flexible backrest. And this is probably the biggest reason why I have used the Embody so extensively. This is probably, I would say, my third most chair used at BTOD behind the Leap and the CXO, and I really like this chair. The reason that I can't use the chair as much as those other two chairs is because the backrest design, the curvature of it, is kind of like a concave curve and pushes your shoulders forward a little bit. And that combined with the really aggressive back support for the lumbar makes me need to get out of this chair after a few weeks of using it and go with something else. But overall, I do think it's a much more comfortable experience than the Aeron overall, and I would tend to lean towards the Embody from a pure comfort aspect for most people looking for a high-end ergonomic chair. If you're looking for more office chair content, check out this video.